All right, so get ready, because today we are going deep into British weather vocab.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, but with a twist, right? We're not going to just talk about like your basic, forecasts and stuff.
Right.
We're going to see how people in Britain really use language to make weather come alive.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, the crazy, unpredictable weather they're famous for.
Right.
It's going to be really fun. And by the way, this is all based on a lesson from the English Voice Club, which helps English learners talk about the weather in a way that's both accurate and, interesting.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, so it should be good. And we'll link to that in the show notes, by the way, if you want to check it out.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's just imagine for a sec that we're waking up in London on a crisp morning.
Okay.
It's not quite freezing, but it's definitely one of those mornings where, you need a light jacket at least.
Sure.
The lesson calls this chilly.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that just perfectly captures that kind of slightly cold, but still, like, manageable temperature.
It does, and it's a great starting point, because it highlights how British English uses specific terms to convey those subtle differences in temperature, right?
Okay.
So chilly is that in-between zone.
Right.
Not quite cold enough for you to be able to see your breath.
See your breath, yeah.
Which, by the way, has to do with the air being so cold that the water vapor in your breath condenses into tiny, visible droplets.
Oh, wow. So it's really about condensation happening right in front of you.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool, but not literally, I guess.
Right, right.
It has to be below freezing for that to happen.
Exactly.
Okay, that's chilly, but then when you hit freezing, you're in a whole other zone.
Absolutely.
And speaking of staying warm, what about that British expression, bundle up?
Yes.
Does that perfectly capture those freezing days?
I think it really does. Bundle up isn't just about like putting on a coat. It's about really layering up, scarves, hats, gloves, the whole 9 yards. It really evokes that sense of preparing for a real chill.
Totally. Huh. Yeah, and you don't really hear that phrase in warmer climates, right?
No, you don't. It's very specific to places where cold weather is just a real part of life.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's say we've bundled up, we head out the door,
Okay.
and find that it's drizzling outside.
Uh-huh.
Not a downpour or anything.
Right.
Just enough to make you appreciate that umbrella you remembered to grab.
Yeah.
Now, drizzling, that's a great example of how the British just soften the blow of unpleasant weather.
It is.
With language, right?
Yeah, drizzling is like rain's gentler cousin.
Okay.
The source even uses the word spitting, which is even lighter.
Spitting?
Like just a few scattered drops teasing you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay, but what about when those gentle drops decide to turn into a full-blown downpour?
Then we move into those more dramatic expressions.
Yeah, I was going to say it's about to get good.
The lesson describes it as the heavens opening, which paints such a vivid picture
It does.
of a sudden, intense downpour.
I love that. It's almost biblical, right?
It is.
Like some higher power has just decided to unleash a torrent of water.
Right.
And then there's that more colloquial one, chucking it down.
Oh, yeah.
I find hilarious.
Tucking it down captures that feeling of being caught in a heavy, relentless downpour.
It does.
Some might say it's a bit exaggerated.
You sure?
But I think it reflects that British tendency to just find humor even when the weather's miserable.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not just stating a fact, right? It's injecting some personality.
Exactly.
Okay, so whether we're soaked after a chucking it down episode or just slightly damp from a light drizzle, it seems like they have a word for every degree of wetness.
They do, yeah. And that attention to detail is what makes their weather vocabulary so fascinating.
Okay.
But let's not get too comfortable with the rain because there's something else brewing on the horizon.
Oh, do I sense a storm approaching?
You do.
Okay, I am ready for some dramatic vocabulary.
Yeah, you can practically feel it. That change in the air. So we look out the window and the sky is overcast. Like completely blanketed with those ominous gray clouds.
Okay.
And it's dark overhead. It almost feels like twilight came early.
Yeah.
Perfect setting for a storm, don't you think?
Definitely feels like something's about to happen.
Right.
The lesson uses the phrase storm brewing.
Oh, yeah.
Which is perfect.
It is.
Because you really get that sense of anticipation.
Right.
And then, bam, a flash of lightning just illuminates the sky, followed by this like resounding clap of thunder.
Yes.
It's like nature's putting on a show.
A performance, exactly.
Yeah.
the source describes this classic storm sequence, right? The build-up, the flash of light, that booming echo of thunder. And it culminates in that term thunderstorm, which really sums it all up.
It does.
That whole event.
Yeah, and it's incredible how, like, those words really capture that raw power of a thunderstorm.
Right.
And, of course, a storm isn't just about rain and thunder.
Right, it's not.
There's wind.
Oh.
So the lesson talks about how the wind picks up, creating this, like, swirling, almost chaotic atmosphere.
Yeah.
And then it escalates to a gale.
Ooh.
Which I know can be pretty dangerous.
A gale is definitely not something to be taken lightly.
Right.
It means the wind is strong enough to, cause damage.
Yeah.
Topple trees, even disrupt transportation.
Wow.
So it reminds us that weather vocabulary isn't just, about being descriptive and fancy.
Okay.
It's also about conveying important information.
Okay, so I've always wondered about the origins of these words.
Mm-hmm.
Gale sounds almost poetic.
It does.
Compared to something like hurricane.
Yeah.
Is there a historical connection there, or?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it really gets to the heart of how language evolves over time. Gale actually has Old Norse roots.
Oh, wow.
Which reflects the, seafaring history of the British Isles and those powerful winds that affected sailing vessels.
Oh.
So it's a word that carries centuries of maritime experience.
That's so cool. So, okay, our London day continues.
Right.
The storm passes.
Okay.
The clouds part.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, the sun is beaming down, with incredible intensity.
Yeah.
The source uses baking hot.
Oh, yeah.
To describe this.
It is.
And I think that is so accurate.
Baking hot immediately conjures up images of, that scorching, almost suffocating heat you might experience in places like the Sahara Desert. It's much more evocative than just saying extremely hot.
It is.
Because it, appeals to our senses.
Right.
You can practically feel that heat radiating off the pavement.
Totally. And they throw in some other fantastic British synonyms as well, like scorcher and boiling.
Oh, yeah.
Which just add that extra layer of intensity.
They do.
It's not just hot, it's like outrageously hot.
Right.
But with this crazy weather, who knows how long it will last?
Exactly.
That's where the weather forecast comes in.
Yes, in Britain, where the weather can change so quickly,
right,
the forecast is more than just information. It's like a cultural touchstone.
I see.
People rely on it to plan their entire day, even their wardrobe.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
And the language that's used often reflects that dramatic, ever-shifting nature of British weather.
It's like the forecast itself becomes a mini narrative.
Yeah.
With all this anticipation and potential twists and turns.
It really does.
So let's peek into the forecast and see what kind of linguistic gems it holds.
Okay, let's do it.
What's on the menu?
Well, it starts off pretty innocently.
Okay.
It mentions frost on the ground.
Frost on the ground, yeah.
Which creates this serene image of a, crisp winter morning. You can almost picture those delicate ice crystals sparkling in the sunlight.
Okay, but I have a feeling that tranquility is not going to last.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Especially if those ominous clouds from earlier are anything to go by.
The forecast warns of an incoming weather system.
Oh, no.
Bringing a mix of rain and snow.
Oh.
What they call sleet.
Sleet. That messy combo that's neither rain nor snow.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, is there a specific temperature range that produces that, or?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it highlights how even simple weather terms have this fascinating scientific backstory.
Okay.
So sleet actually forms when snowflakes partially melt as they fall through a layer of warm air.
Oh, I see.
Above the ground, and then they refreeze into ice pellets.
Wow.
Before hitting the surface. So it's like a mini weather adventure happening up there.
That's so cool. Okay, so we've got frost.
Yeah.
You've got sleet.
Right.
What else does this British weather have in store?
Well, the forecast mentions a flurry of snow.
Flurry of snow. Oh,
now, that might sound light and whimsical, but there's a warning tucked in there.
Uh-oh.
This flurry is just the prelude to a much more intense weather event.
What?
A full-blown blizzard is expected to hit by evening.
Whoa, a blizzard that's serious business.
Uh-huh.
What exactly constitutes a blizzard besides a lot of snow?
So a blizzard is defined by 3 key factors. Heavy snowfall, strong winds, often reaching gale force.
Oh, wow.
And severely reduced visibility, making travel extremely hazardous.
Wow.
It's the kind of weather that can bring cities to a standstill.
Yeah.
And I bet all that snow will eventually turn into that dreaded slush. The miserable mix of snow and ice.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like the world.
Soaks right through your shoes.
Yeah.
Makes walking a treacherous endeavor.
Slush is like the unwelcome aftermath of a snowfall.
It is.
Like it's the messy reality that no one wants to deal with, but it's definitely a word that evokes a reaction, right?
It does.
It's not just descriptive. It carries this sense of like dread and discomfort.
Absolutely. And that's the power of, well-chosen vocabulary. It goes beyond simply conveying information. Right. It triggers memories, emotions, even physical sensations.
Right.
In this case, slush instantly transports us back to those unpleasant winter experiences, making us shiver just thinking about it.
Ugh. Yeah, so we've gone from frost and sleet to a flurry of snow and a full-blown blizzard culminating in the dreaded slush.
We have.
It's been quite the ride.
It has.
And I love how this deep dive has not only expanded our vocabulary, but also given us a glimpse into like the cultural significance of weather language in Britain.
Precisely, we've seen how the unpredictability of British weather has shaped a lexicon that's both descriptive and evocative, reflecting a deep connection to the natural world and a certain wry humor in the face of its ever-changing moods.
Yeah, it really is amazing how they find the humor and poetry in something as unpredictable as the weather.
It is.
But on a more practical note, I'm guessing with temperatures expected to remain below freezing, we need to keep those layers on.
Absolutely. Bundling up is key in this kind of weather. But what's interesting is that the need to constantly adapt to these, shifting conditions has also influenced how weather forecasts are presented in Britain.
Oh, how so?
Well, you'll notice they often use very descriptive language.
Okay.
Almost like they're telling a story.
Right.
It's not just about conveying facts, but about creating that sense of anticipation.
Okay.
Drama, even a touch of humor.
I see.
It's part of what makes checking the weather forecast in the UK so unique.
That's fascinating. So it's like the forecast itself becomes a form of entertainment.
Yeah.
Reflecting that British love of storytelling.
Exactly. It's about engaging the listener, drawing them into the narrative of the weather. And I think that's what makes this deep dive so valuable.
Okay.
We're not just learning isolated vocabulary words.
Right.
We're understanding how they're used in context, how they reflect cultural nuances, and how they shape the way people experience the world around them.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like we've unlocked a secret code to understanding not just British weather, but also a little bit of like the British psyche.
Exactly. So the next time you're listening to a weather report, whether it's in Britain or elsewhere, pay attention to the language being used.
Okay.
Notice how certain words, evoke certain feelings or images, how they create a sense of atmosphere or drama. You might be surprised at how much you can learn about a culture just from the way they talk about the weather.
It's like becoming a weather detective.
Yeah.
Uncovering hidden clues about a place and its people.
Exactly. And, it's not just about passive listening.
Right.
The real joy comes from using these words yourself.
Okay.
From incorporating them into your own vocabulary. So the next time you're describing a particularly chilly morning, try saying, "It's freezing out there. I can practically see my breath."
Okay.
Or if you get caught in a sudden downpour, don't just say it's raining. Embrace that British spirit and say, "It's chucking it down. I'm soaked to the bone."
I'm definitely going to try that.
It's just a more fun, engaging way to talk about something we all experience.
Absolutely. Well, on that note, I think we've successfully navigated this deep dive.
We have.
Into the fascinating world of British weather language.
Yes.
We've gone from chilly mornings to baking hot afternoons, brave thunderstorms and blizzards.
We did.
And even learned a bit about the science behind it all.
We did. And most importantly, I hope we've inspired you to pay closer attention to the language of weather, to appreciate its nuances and its power to really connect us to the world around us.
Beautifully said so. Until next time.
Yes.
Stay curious.
Stay curious.
Keep exploring, and don't let a little drizzle dampen your spirits.
I love it.